Sports early NFL week preview for NFL week 14. We're going to talk a lot of fantasy football, a lot of gambling for NFL week 14, player prop bets, everything that you need to cash your tickets and win your fantasy week. So if you've got gambling questions, fantasy questions, player prop bet questions, or you just want to talk some football, make sure you get in the comments section, put in all your questions, who to start, who to sit, who to pick up off the waiver wire. We've been putting in research the last 24 hours to get ready for this week and to get everyone ready for NFL Week 14. Appreciate all of you joining us. Make sure you put your comments in the comments section. If you've got questions for fantasy football, if you've got questions for how to gamble, what games to pick, what matchups or storylines to keep lookout for this week, definitely like it. What up, Lope? Appreciate you joining us. Appreciate you jumping over. Thoughts on Baker going to the Rams? I think it just shows some desperation on the Rams' part. They really lack quarterbacks, so I thought it was more out of desperation. Justin Jefferson or Cheetah this week. I really like Justin Jefferson going up against the Detroit Lions defense that gives up a lot of yards, so I definitely like Justin Jefferson this week. I think he's the number one play. Please put your comments in the comments section, your questions. Happy to answer fantasy football questions. But Fumble Sports, we're a new sports content company. We're going to be out here for a while, just answering your questions, getting you ready for NFL Week 14. Appreciate all the likes. Definitely add some questions. We'd love to hear from you. What questions do you have? Kyler or Dak? I like Dak this week going up against the Houston Texans. Kyler Murray going up against Bill Belichick and that defense of the Patriots. I think Dak's the better play. Patty or Josh Allen? I like Josh Allen. Both are going up against tough defenses, but I like Josh Allen. Swift, P. Ryan, Murray, Jamal, Pacheco, or James Cook. Pick one at RB2. Well, for that one, I'd probably lean towards Jamal Williams, and the only reason I'm leaning towards Jamal Williams is he has kind of been the bell cow in the run in the red zone for the Lions. But the two I'm really picking between are DeAndre Swift and Jamal Williams. The offensive line of the Lions is good. They run the ball consistently. They throw the ball to Swift. That's kind of where I lean if you want to get PPR points. But that said, if you just want to get points overall, I think Jamal Williams is the better play given his red zone targets. Appreciate Blease, you asking us, what are some of the top waiver wire targets for Week 14? Happy that you asked. If you need a quarterback, we have a lot of teams on the bye week this week. If you need some quarterbacks off the bye week, consider Kenny Pickett, owned in less than 10% of leagues on ESPN, and playing a Ravens defense that is ranked 20th in fantasy versus quarterbacks. You may also want to consider Ryan Tannehill. Tannehill is owned in less than 10% of leagues, and he's playing a Jaguars defense that is ranked 26th in fantasy versus quarterbacks. And finally, another quarterback you may want to consider if you need one is Mac Jones. Surprisingly, Mac Jones is out there. I know, not surprising he's out there, but he might be a good start against the Cardinals defense that is ranked 30th in fantasy versus quarterbacks. Some running backs you may want to consider: Chuba Hubbard of the Carolina Panthers, owned in less than 15% of leagues and going up against a really bad Seahawks defense ranked 30th versus running backs in fantasy. And as for a wide receiver to focus on, Michael Gallup is one, and Trent Sherfield. Trent Sherfield had a big one reception for the Miami Dolphins, but he's been involved in the offense and he's been trending up the last few weeks. So those are just a few waiver wire targets to consider. Check out our content at Sports Fumble on Twitter, at But Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. We put out waiver wire pickup plays, fantasy football start, flex, and sit. We put out game picks, rants, everything the sports fan needs to be ready for the NFL week, whether it's in fantasy or in gambling. Bam Knight or Zeke? I'm definitely going Zeke on this one up against the Houston Texans. No brainer for me. Once I answer your question, just give us a like and definitely follow us at But Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, and at Sports Fumble on Twitter. Who's a tight end you can pick up off the waiver wire this week? So glad you asked. Noah Fant is one you may want to consider. He's owned in 32% of leagues on ESPN. He is projected to only get 4.3 fantasy points this week, going up against the Panthers defense that's ranked 9th in fantasy versus tight ends. But if Fant has been coming on the last few weeks, he might be a good tight end to focus on Another one you may want to consider is Austin Hooper of the Tennessee Titans. He's projected to only get 4.1 fantasy points this week, but he is playing a Jaguars defense that's one of the worst in fantasy versus tight ends. And finally, one more that you may want to consider picking up off the waiver wire if you need a tight end is Hunter Henry. The Cardinals are the worst defense in football, in fantasy football, against tight ends, so Hunter Henry may be someone you want to consider this week. Appreciate all of you joining us at Sports Fumble on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, and at Sports Fumble on Twitter, and at Butt Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Answering your fantasy football questions, Jerry Jeudy or Courtland Sutton. I actually lean towards Jerry Jeudy this week. I think the deep ball presence will be important against the Kansas City Chiefs. I think Sutton has been traditionally the one Russell Wilson has targeted more. I think the Chiefs' defense knows that. I think they're going to try and take away Sutton and force Russell Wilson to throw elsewhere. So I'd actually lean towards Jerry Jeudy. Appreciate all of you joining us in the space. Definitely ask fantasy football questions. Happy to help you out, try and help you win your fantasy week and get you into the playoffs. Once I answer your question, just give us a like and definitely give us a follow at Butt Fumble Sports. Thoughts on Alvin Kamara the rest of the season? Not high on him. The offense of the Saints is just not good. I know Andy Dalton actually played decently well last night, but I just don't feel good about Alvin Kamara. You're just seeing this as an off year for him. Hopefully he can bounce back next year, but I'm not really high on it. Zay Jones or Treylon Burks. I was disappointed by the performance of Zay Jones last week. Clearly he's still banged up, but if he's healthy enough to go, I like him this week, given that the Jacksonville Jaguars are playing a Tennessee Titans secondary that gives up a lot of yards, so an opportunity for Zay Jones to get right. I'd lean towards him. Deebo Samuel or Stephon Diggs. Stephon Diggs has a really tough matchup this week going up against Sauce Gardner, but on the other side, Deebo Samuel has a third-string quarterback throwing to him. I think Deebo is still going to get plenty of targets, but right now I have to put Stephon Diggs in my lineup week over week. I can't sit him, so I'd have to go with Stephon Diggs. Jeff Wilson Jr. or Jamal Williams? Good question. So Jeff Wilson Jr. is going up against a Chargers defense that's one of the worst in the NFL against the run. So I lean towards Jeff Wilson Jr. only for that reason. Otherwise, I would be really high on Jamal Williams. He's had a fantastic season, especially when he gets in the red zone. He's getting a lot of opportunities to score touchdowns. So you really can't go wrong with either one. But I think I lean towards Jeff Wilson Jr. My only concern there is the offensive line of the Dolphins is banged up, but I have to believe that the defense of the Chargers being bad kind of balances that out or is actually even more of an advantage. So I lean towards Jeff Wilson Jr. Pacheco, DJ Moore, or Hollywood Brown. I'm not really crazy about any of them. Right now, I'd probably lean towards DJ Moore, but I think all of them are in a tough spot. Pacheco and the Chiefs defense going up against the Broncos defense that's just really good, both against the run and against the pass. DJ Moore, the Seahawks are a better defense against the pass than they are against the run. And Hollywood Brown, I just haven't seen anything consistent from him. I know he's getting an extra week of rest, but the only benefit for Hollywood Brown is you would expect the Patriots want to take away DeAndre Hopkins, take away the number one wide receiver of the Cardinals. That may allow for Hollywood Brown to be a bit more open. But right now, of those three, DJ Moore is the one I'd go with. Kelsey or Kittle? Right now, I would go Kelsey. He's just having a monster season. Just because he had one fumble in a game doesn't mean I go away from him. We were just on a Twitter space a moment ago at Sports Fumble. We do a Twitter space every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern. And I got a great member of the audience who said Travis Kelce's going to score 2 touchdowns this week. I don't know if I'm as optimistic as he is. I could see a touchdown this week for Kelsey, but I definitely like him over Kittle this week. Mike Evans or Hollywood Brown at the flex. Like I said a moment ago, I just don't know what I'm getting from Hollywood Brown, and for that reason, I would go Mike Evans. I know they're going up against a really good 49ers defense, but the 49ers are better against the run than they are the pass. I think Mike Evans has a decent day. Zay Jones or Burke answered that one. I'm going Zay Jones. A couple of repeats here, sorry. Is Dalvin Cook going to have a good week this week? I think so. He's going up against the Lions defense that isn't good on both the run and the pass. I think there are going to be opportunities for the Vikings to hand the ball off to Cook and him to get a touchdown once again. Jeff Wilson or Jamal Williams, as I mentioned earlier, I like Jeff Wilson in that one. How do I feel about Foster Moreau? I like him. I think he's going to be a good play this week. The tight end position gets a lot of opportunities in the Raiders' offense, so I like Foster Moreau going up against the Rams. Cousins or Trevor Lawrence this week with Fields on a bye. No brainer to me, it's Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins is going up against a really bad Lions defense. I think there are going to be a lot of points scored in that game. Kirk Cousins would definitely be the play, especially because it's a 1 p.m. game. I know it's on the road, but it's in a dome against a bad defense. I think Kirk Cousins is the better play. Appreciate all of you joining us on this TikTok Live. Feel free to put your comments and questions in the comments section, and definitely give us a follow at Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, and at Sports Fumble on Twitter. Once I answer your question, we would love a like. You traded Jonathan Taylor, Devontae Smith, and Raheem Mostert for Henry and Garrett Wilson. Who won? I mean, I really like Garrett Wilson, but I like Devontae Smith as well. I think out of the running backs, the fact that you got Henry and Wilson, you probably won. I lean just slightly towards that, more because Jonathan Taylor's been a disappointment. What do I think of ETN the rest of the year? My concern is at some point they're going to shut him down. He just has too many injuries week to week, so I am a little bit worried about ETN the remainder of the year. Can he stay healthy enough as fantasy owners go through the playoffs? That's my only concern about him. You may want to pick up his backup, or just make sure you have someone on your bench who can slot in if at the last moment Travis Etienne isn't worth a play. Sauce Gardner or Trayvon Diggs? I like Sauce Gardner. Right now he leads the NFL in passes defended, and who he's going up against week in, week out, the Justin Jeffersons, the Stephon Diggs of the world. Speaking of a Diggs, I'm more impressed with what I've seen from him. I know they're not putting him completely on an island just yet, but I really do think he's the defensive player of the year, and I think he's going to be the next great shutdown cornerback in the NFL, along with Patrick Surtain of the Denver Broncos. Garrett Wilson or Deebo Samuel? I would go Garrett Wilson on this one. Ever since Mike White came in, you're seeing what Garrett Wilson's capable of. I just have a bit more faith in the passing game right now of the Jets. Even though the Bills are a good defense, I think there's going to be opportunities to pass in that game, at least between the 20s, so I would lean towards Garrett Wilson. Should you start A.J. Brown? Yes, automatically. A.J. Brown right now is an automatic start week in, week out. Is Kenneth Walker going to play? That's one you're going to have to watch throughout the week. I think the injury report is going to get tight on him. I see him actually playing, but I think he's not going to participate in practice for the first few days, so I would be concerned once you get to game time if he's going to be on a snap count. Higgins or Gabe Davis? I would lean towards T. Higgins. Again, the Jets defense really strong, so the fact that Gabe Davis is going to have to go up against that defense, I'd rather have T. Higgins. Should I play Carter Knight at RB2, or should I pick up someone off the waiver wire? If so, what are some options? So kind of tough off the waiver wire this week when it comes to running backs. Some of the waiver wire options that I identified were Jordan Mason of the San Francisco 49ers. He's projected to get 5.1 fantasy points. He's only rostered in 3% of leagues on ESPN. Kenneth Gainwell, I'm not crazy about that option. He only is projected to get 5.5 fantasy points. He's coming off a decent week of 5 points. But again, you're not hearing great options. The other one is Chuba Hubbard. He's owned in 15% of leagues. He's coming off a bye week. He may be someone you want to pick up. And finally, Joshua Kelly of the Chargers. He's projected to get 4.6 fantasy points. So what you're hearing is not a lot of good options. At an RB2 position, you're really in a tough spot because you're really putting in guys who should be in a flex, and you're trying to squeeze them into an RB2. I'd probably lean towards Zonovan Knight or Michael Carter. Start Watson, Tannehill, Huntley, or Purdy. I'd start Watson. I think he's going to shake the rust off and he's going to play better this week against the Cincinnati Bengals. That said, I can see Tannehill having a good week as well against the Jacksonville Jaguars, so I probably lean towards Watson with Tannehill being my number 2. Who's going to win the Super Bowl? The Philadelphia Eagles are going to win the Super Bowl. Unfortunately for Cowboy fans, you're not going to quite get there. I like the Eagles playing the Bills, and I like the Eagles winning the Super Bowl. George Pickens or Donovan Peoples-Jones. So I was really disappointed last week in George Pickens. The Steelers were playing a Falcons defense that gives up a lot of passing yards, and he only had, I believe, 1 reception for like 2 yards. Really disappointing day. Meanwhile, Donovan Peoples-Jones with one of the best plays of NFL Week 13 with that punt return for a touchdown. Whether it's in special teams or in the passing game, I like Donovan Peoples-Jones in this one, only slightly, and it's more because I think he's going to get more involved in the offense with Deshaun Watson getting some of the rust off. Meanwhile, George Pickens is complaining he was involved so little last week, so I kind of don't know how Mike Tomlin and the offense, how the coaches are going to treat Pickens and if they're going to target him. I'd like to see him get more involved, but because there's some uncertainty, whenever you have those questions or variables that are kind of keeping you away from a player, I'm really mindful of that. I want to lock in guaranteed points. I want my floor to be as high as possible. Maybe my ceiling's not as high as it could be, but I want to make sure I lock in guaranteed points, so I'd lean towards Donovan Peoples-Jones. Pacheco, Knight, Nico Collins, or James Cook in the flex. Well, I lean towards Zonovan Knight. I think none of them are great. I think Pacheco or Knight are probably the 2 I lean towards. Metcalf or Debo, I'd go Metcalf. Metcalf or Lockett, I lean towards Lockett only because, well, I actually take that back. I was going to say I lean towards Lockett because I think there's an opportunity for Metcalf to have a bigger day. But Metcalf is going to be going up against J.C. Horn of the Carolina Panthers, a really good young cornerback. I wonder if he's going to stay on one side of the field or if he's going to travel. I think both players are going to have a big day. I might lean towards Lockett actually just a little bit more. The best tight ends to pick off the waiver wire, as I see them right now, are Noah Fant. He's owned in about 32% of leagues on ESPN. Austin Hooper of the Tennessee Titans, he's owned in about 11% of leagues. And Hunter Henry, he's owned in about 26% of leagues. Those are the best tight ends I think that are available on the waiver wire for this week, given their matchups. You need to drop one Cordero Patterson or Leonard Fournette. I would drop Leonard Fournette because the running game of the Bucs is the worst in the NFL. Rachaad White is coming on strong. Fournette's been dealing with an injury. I think Patterson's more likely to have a bigger day. Appreciate all of you guys joining us. After I answer your question, please just give us a like and definitely give us a follow at Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Appreciate gifts and tips, everything and the like. If you want betting advice, if you want picks for this week, feel free to reach out. Just put it in the comment section. Just ask for it. Happy to give you some winners for the week, whether it's player prop bets, gambling picks, or fantasy football advice. Fumble Sports is here for the sports fan. Mike White or Geno Smith. I got to go Geno Smith on that one only because I really don't like Mike White up against the Buffalo Bills defense. I think White could put up yards between the 20s, but I think he may struggle in the red zone to put points up on the board, where I see Geno Smith having a big day, putting up big passing yards up against the Carolina defense. Appreciate all of you joining us on this TikTok Live. Jimmy or you, I don't quite know who that is, so King Jalen, give me write that in again. PPR, Pacheco, or Zay Jones. I'm going to lean towards Zay Jones. Which defense has the best schedules coming up? I'm not quite sure. You'd have to check. I don't know. No, Mark Sanchez has nothing to do with this account. The reason we're called Fumble Sports actually is we're a new sports content company that's designed for sports fans, and we believe that every fan can be on-air talent. If you love talking sports, there should be a place for you. Fumble Sports wants to be that place. And the reason we're called Fumble Sports is I love that play because I think of it as one of two ways. It's either a play in which someone made a mistake and they ran headfirst into someone's rear end, or if you spin it around, it was an opportunity that just fell to someone who picked it up and ran with it. Maybe this is your opportunity. This is your butt fumble. If you want to talk sports, if you love talking sports, but you do something else in your career, you didn't get into sports media, but you love talking fantasy football, you love talking sports gambling, you love just ranting about sports in general, reach out to us at Sports Fumble on Twitter, at Butt Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Maybe this sports company is for you. Maybe we have a place for you. That's why we're called Butt Fumble Sports. Deshaun Watson or Tom Brady? I would go Deshaun Watson this week. Tom Brady going up against a tough defense. I do like Deshaun Watson starting to get some of the rust off and playing better this week. Raiders or Rams on Thursday Night Football. The Butt Fumble Sports pick for the Thursday Night Football game is the Raiders on the money line, but my favorite play on this one is the under. I would buy the 1.5 and get the under, lift that ceiling up as much as possible so you can make sure you cash your bets. Walker or DK or Lockett at the flex. I'm kind of worried about Kenneth Walker's health. I lean towards Lockett or DK Metcalf. Of those two, I'd probably lean towards Lockett just slightly. Appreciate all of you joining us on TikTok Live. Waiver wire QBs, Tannehill, Lawrence, or Daniel Jones. I like Tannehill and I like Lawrence. The only reason I may lean towards Tannehill, only for now, is because the health status of Trevor Lawrence. Given that he had that injury mid-game against the Lions, I would want to check that. If Lawrence goes into that game at 100%, I would like Trevor Lawrence more. Vikings or Lions on Sunday, which game do I like more? Surprisingly, the Lions are favored in this one. I like the Vikings to cover. I would buy the 1.5 and take the Vikings +4. Butt Fumble Sports, we like to buy the 1.5 where we can, make sure we're cashing as many tickets as we can. But I like the Vikings in that game because even though it's the Vikings on the road and Kirk Cousins on the road, it's not a primetime game, so he won't turn into a vampire. He'll play as well in a dome, and the Lions are a bad defense, so I think it's a shootout between Goff and Kirk Cousins, but I do like the Vikings to cover. I think that's going to be a 3-point game. I could actually see the Vikings winning it, but I'm not going to go with them on the money line just yet. I like Vikings to cover +4 after you buy a 1.5. Do you start Mike Evans? Well, it depends on who your other options are, but I would start Mike Evans. The 49ers are better against the run than they are against the pass, so I could see Godwin and Evans having a better day. That saying, I see Tom Brady getting hit a lot in that game. Should the Titans give Mike Vrabel GM responsibilities or hire one? They absolutely should hire one. I would not make him the GM. I think you see a head coach has enough on their plate. I am interested to see where John Robinson goes. I think the New England Patriots could be a really good fit for him. The Patriots need a general manager after their struggles in the draft the last few years. Bill Belichick, clearly, he should focus more on just coaching and not on player personnel nearly as much. So John Robinson, I think, would be a great fit there, but I think Mike Vrabel should remain head coach and just focus on that. Joe Burrow or Jimmy? Well, it's Joe Burrow. I think the Jimmy you're probably referring to is Jimmy G, and he's not worth playing right now. He's got an injury. A.J. Brown, C.D. Lamb, Garrett Wilson, Nick Chubb. What order this week? Okay, that's an interesting one. I'll probably start with C.D. Lamb, number 1. I'll go Nick Chubb, number 2. I'll go A.J. Brown, number 3, and I'll go Garrett Wilson, number 4. Who's the GOAT? Tom Brady's the GOAT. Who would win one-on-one, Henry or Fred? Henry. Pollard or James Conner? Pollard 100% this week. James Conner going up against the New England Patriots defense, one of the best defenses against the run. It's Tony Pollard. The only concern you may have is Tony Pollard gets pulled early or has fewer snaps because they don't want to burn him out against the Texans. But I like Tony Pollard more than I like James Conner this week. Miles Sanders or Zeke? I lean towards Zeke against the Texans. I think the Texans are the worst defense against the run in the NFL. A lot of opportunities for Pollard and for Zeke. That said, Sanders, he's going up against the New York Giants in a very physical game. I think I would lean towards Zeke. Thielen or James Cook, PPR flex. I like Thielen a lot this week against the Lions. Thielen would be the play for me. Lawrence or Daniel Jones? I'm going Trevor Lawrence. Appreciate all of you joining us on TikTok Live and on YouTube. Definitely give us a follow at Sports Fumble on Twitter and at Butt Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. We appreciate all the support, tips, gifts, and of course, put your comments and questions in the comments section so we can answer all of them. CeeDee Lamb or Stephon Diggs? I go CeeDee Lamb this week, though I think Diggs is probably going to score a touchdown. He does have a tough matchup against Sauce Gardner. Samaje Perine, Dameon Pierce, or Rachaad White this week. Samaje Perine of those three, not crazy about Pierce going up against the Cowboys defense or White going up against the 49ers. That said, Samaje Perine may be splitting back or touches with Joe Mixon, so not crazy about any of them really, but Perine the most. I like him the most out of the group. Derek Carr or Daniel Jones this week. David Carr, he's on a TV set, so I wouldn't go with him. But as for Derek Carr or Daniel Jones, I'm definitely going Derek Carr on Thursday Night Football. Etienne or Ramondre Stevenson? That's a good question. To me, it's all about the health of Travis Etienne. I'm slightly concerned about him. That said, I probably lean towards Ramondre Stevenson anyways. Etienne and the Jaguars are going up against the Tennessee Titans defense that's really good in the trenches against the run, or at least they were until they went up against the Eagles. So I probably lean towards Ramondre Stevenson. T. Higgins or Godwin in the flex for week 1 of the playoffs. Well, first of all, good luck in your playoff matchups this week. That said, I do lean towards T. Higgins in that passing offense of the Cincinnati Bengals. I just want to check one thing. So right now, the Browns-Bengals game doesn't have weather in it. It's supposed to be 45 degrees. I'm not seeing any rain. I'm just seeing overcast and not too much wind. I would just be concerned about the weather. That would be the only reason I would probably lean against Higgins. But for now, I do like Higgins. By the way, if you guys want a great website to check out what the weather reports are for NFL football games, check out NFLweather.com. Great website. Gives you all the weather reports, not just for the start time of the game, but for each individual quarter of the game. So a great place to get some research as you're preparing your week. Kenneth Walker III or James Conner? If Kenneth Walker III is healthy enough to go, I lean towards Kenneth Walker III. But my concern is he won't be healthy enough or he'll be limited, and that will force you to go with James Conner. Appreciate all of you joining us on TikTok Live and on YouTube. Definitely give us a follow at Sports Fumble on Twitter. Like us after I answer your question, and appreciate all the support, tips, gifts, all the rest. And of course, follow us and subscribe on YouTube at Butt Fumble Sports. Jared Goff or Trevor Lawrence? I'm going Jared Goff. You've seen how productive he's been the last few weeks. Love what I've seen from him. And also, he's going up against a Vikings defense that allows a lot of passing yards. So it's Jared Goff for me. Treylon Burks, if healthy, or Jacoby Myers? I would lean towards Jacoby Myers slightly. I could see Mac Jones having a good day against the Arizona Cardinals on Monday Night Football. I'm a little hesitant about Burks because of his health. So obviously monitor his status. If he's a full go, you may want to consider Burks. But given you have Jacoby Myers healthy and sitting there, you might want to go with him on Monday night. Butker or Bass the rest of the season? Oh, thank you so much, Ben. Appreciate the support. It's very nice of you. Let me know if you've got some questions. Put them in the chat. I'll make sure I answer them. Really appreciate that. Butker or Bass the rest of the season? Any logic for kickers that you would apply? Well, one piece of logic. Look, Butker has been concerning me this year because he's not as healthy and consistent as years past. That's the only reason I'd be worried. But for me, it's about Bass in weather. Bass is playing in one of the windiest stadiums in the NFL up in Buffalo. So when it does come to what's the logic for me, which stadium is going to get tougher to kick in? Arrowhead's going to be cold, but I'm not as concerned about the wind as I am in Buffalo. So I'd probably lean towards Butker over Bass in Buffalo. If Kenneth Walker III is healthy, do you start him over DK Metcalf? The answer is no. I would start DK Metcalf over Kenneth Walker III either way. Yeah, some people's playoffs start a week early. It depends how big your league is. If you're in a smaller league, you have another week to go. But for some people who are in these bigger leagues, their playoffs start, or if you have multiple weeks in your playoffs. Appreciate all of you joining us. Appreciate all the support. Gifts, tips are definitely appreciated very much. Subscribe to our channel on YouTube at Fumble Sports. Follow our content at TikTok and Instagram at Fumble Sports as well, and on Twitter at SportsFumble. And of course, like us, we really appreciate the support. We're here to answer all your fantasy football questions. And if you want to know about game picks, am I an Eagles fan? No, I'm not. That's not to say I don't like the Eagles. I have a lot of respect for them. They've got a great team. I think they're going to go very far. Like I said, I've got them in the Super Bowl. The Ravens' new starting quarterback is Tyler Huntley. He's going to fit in perfectly into that Ravens offense. He's kind of a mini-me of Lamar Jackson. I don't like them, though, against the Pittsburgh Steelers this week. I like the Steelers on the money line in that game. Zonovan Knight or Adam Thielen. I really like Adam Thielen this week going up against the Detroit Lions. It would be Adam Thielen for me. Please give us a like. T. Higgins, Devontae Smith, or Debo or Christian Kirk. Interesting. I like Christian Kirk a lot. He's definitely on the list for me. Probably in order, I'd go Christian Kirk, T. Higgins, Devontae Smith, and Debo. And the only reason I'm doing Debo dirty is because I am slightly concerned to see what this 49ers offense looks with a week of practice or a week of an opposing team ready for the third string quarterback. Nick Chubb or Derrick Henry. I think Derrick Henry finally bounces back and has a big day. Over 100 rushing yards is my expectation against the Jacksonville Jaguars. James Conner or Deontay Foreman? Great question. I like Deontay Foreman, actually. The Seahawks are not a good defense against the run. The Patriots are. I think the Carolina Panthers are going to have to rely heavily on Deontay Foreman. So I like Foreman over Henry this week. Zay Jones or Darius Slayton? I'm kind of fading Darius Slayton. A few people I talk to, they're bigger on him. I'm not as crazy about him. If Zay Jones is healthy and a full go, I like Zay Jones. Appreciate all the support. Please give us a like and, of course, follow us at Fumble Sports. Jerry Jeudy or Michael Gallup? I like Michael Gallup. He's actually a player that I would recommend picking up off the waiver wire. I would go with Michael Gallup. Even though Jerry Jeudy is going up against a bad Chiefs defense when it comes to the pass, I don't trust Russell Wilson enough to go with him. Lamar or Jimmy? Well, I think I'm going, who's going to come back faster? It's going to be Lamar Jackson. I think he's going to be at 1 to 3 weeks, where Jimmy Garoppolo, I don't think you're going to see until January. Jerry Jeudy, Williams, Foreman in the flex. Who's Williams? If it's Jamal Williams, I like Jamal Williams the most out of that group. If it's Kyrene Williams, I would go with Foreman. Appreciate all of you joining us. Please give us a like. Please give us a follow at Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, and at Sports Fumble on Twitter. We appreciate gifts. We appreciate the tips. We appreciate the sports support. Definitely give us a like. Do you have a replacement for Kittle without Jimmy G? We have a number of tight ends off the waiver wire that I would recommend. Noah Fant being one of them, Hunter Henry being one of them, and Austin Hooper being one of them. Steelers winning out. Well, I wouldn't be surprised. Mike Tomlin could keep his streak alive of winning seasons if he finds a way to put things together. Zeke or Swift? I'm going to lean just slightly towards Zeke. He's going up against the worst running defense in the NFL, so I lean slightly towards Zeke. My only concern, the Cowboys may want to rest him if they have a big lead in the second half. For that reason, you may want to consider Swift, but if you feel like Zeke's going to be able to play all 4 quarters, if Mike McCarthy's going to keep him in, I certainly think he's going to put up big numbers. Christian McCaffrey or Nick Chubb? I think right now you got to go Nick Chubb. I think you need to see another week of what the 49ers are with Purdy before you can start him. That's why we're here. If you're thanking us, we're thanking you. We appreciate the fans. We're here for you. Please give us a like. We appreciate the tips. We appreciate the gifts. And of course, follow us at Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. If you have questions about NFL Week 14, whether it's gambling, game picks, player prop bets, or fantasy football, we're here for you. We believe the fan should never be number 2. How should I feel about Keenan Allen? I think Keenan Allen, I believe, in the time Justin Herbert has been in the NFL, has the most targets and most receptions of any wide receiver in the league. They just have unbelievable chemistry. So if Keenan Allen's healthy, Keenan Allen's the guy you want to start. He may be a wide receiver 2 at this point, but Keenan Allen must be a week-in-week start for you. What team do I like? Well, I've been working in sports media for about 15 years, so at this point, you kind of respect all the teams. You know, I grew up in New England, so there was a time that I was a Patriots fan, but at this point, I'm disappointed with what I see from them. And I love football. I love sports, so I don't really attach myself to an individual team at this point. It certainly makes it easier to give good advice. Will Purdy hurt the 49ers? I don't think he's going to hurt the 49ers. I think he's going to manage the game. I think he's going to keep within the offense. In some ways, he's going to be exactly what a head coach like Kyle Shanahan wants. Someone who's not going to think for themselves, not going to do things outside the game plan or off script. He's going to be very structured within the offense. So I actually think he's going to do okay. Jerry, Jeudy, or Gallup this week? I would lean towards Gallup. Buffalo, Kansas City, or Denver rest of the season. Can they stay healthy? Well, I think the Buffalo Bills are going to ultimately be the number 1 seed in the AFC. I see them getting enough wins against AFC East opponents like the Patriots coming up once again, and I think they're going to ultimately have the number 1 seed. So I think the Kansas City Chiefs and the Cincinnati Bengals will be on the outside looking in for that number 1 seed, and that's going to hurt them. Trevor Henry, like I said, I'd probably lean towards Henry in this game against Jacksonville. Appreciate all of the support as we stream on YouTube and on TikTok Live at Fumble Sports, a new sports content company. Definitely give us a follow at Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, and at Sports Fumble on Twitter, and definitely give us some likes. Thoughts on Kyler Murray? I think the guy's kind of a punk. I think he's an example of sometimes a team drafts the most talented player with the number 1 pick overall, but actually they're drafting at times the most immature player. You're seeing it with Baker Mayfield. You've seen it with other quarterbacks in the past. I think Kyler Murray isn't mature enough to lead a team to a Super Bowl. So he's obviously unbelievably talented. He was drafted in the first round of both the Major League Baseball and NFL draft. You have to be a freak talent to be able to do that. But he's just not mature. He's not a leader. He's not who I would want leading my football team. Here's a perfect example. I would rather have Jacoby Brissett than Kyler Murray be the starting quarterback of my football team from a pure leadership standpoint. Not from a talent standpoint, but a leadership standpoint. That tells you all you need to know about what I think about Kyler Murray. And I think Patrick Peterson pretty much proved me right with his comments. Do I think Treylon Burks is going to have a catch? Yes. I don't think he's just going to be picking up fumbles in the end zone for scores. I do think he will have a catch this week. The Chargers are the definition of what are they? They are an average team that has good players but can't get over the hump. I really want to see Sean Payton take over this team in the offseason. There are rumors that Payton is interested in the Cardinals job and the Chargers job, depending on which one opens up. I see both of them opening up. I don't think Brandon Staley will be staying on next year. So I would love to see Sean Payton and Justin Herbert working together next season. Thoughts on Pierce and Evans? Mike Evans would be my play this week over the 2. Excuse me. Appreciate all of you joining us on TikTok Live and on YouTube at Fumble Sports. We're a new sports content company here for you. Put your questions in the comments section and definitely give us some likes. Tony Pollard or Zeke Elliott this week? I would lean towards Tony Pollard. Why are the Chargers so on and off? Honestly, it's a combination of coaching, and it's because they aren't experienced enough to know how to win. They know how to lose a lot of games. You see late in games, they just don't know how to win. I know that can be that is cliche to say, but it takes something to know how to win, how to not make mistakes, how to not put yourself in positions where you're falling behind the sticks on first down. The Chargers just make too many mistakes, and they don't have a head coach who can bring them out of kind of their own mistakes. Appreciate all of you joining us on TikTok Live and on YouTube. If Kingsbury does get fired, is Kyler done? No, they just signed him to a long-term deal. Kyler Murray's not going anywhere. He's going to be the starting quarterback in Arizona, no doubt about it. Some waiver wire players that you may want to consider this week. A lot of teams on fantasy, on bye week, so a lot of fantasy owners are scrambling. Some quarterbacks you may want to look at: Kenny Pickett, Ryan Tannehill, and Mac Jones. It's a collection of white boys right there. At the running back position, Jordan Mason, Kenneth Gainwell, Chuba Hubbard, and Joshua Kelly. Guys you may want to consider picking up at the running back position. For wide receiver, Michael Gallup, Trent Sherfield, Corey Davis are some guys you may want to look at. And at tight end, Noah Fant, Austin Hooper, and Hunter Henry. Check out our content. We put out waiver wire watch videos every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday to help fantasy owners at Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, and at Sports Fumble on Twitter. Definitely check out our content. Follow us, subscribe, like everything we do in this TikTok Live. We appreciate it. And of course, we appreciate tips, gifts, all the like. So we appreciate all the support. Is Kenny Pickett the future of the Steelers? I don't think so. I don't think he's going to see his second contract with the Steelers. I'm not as high on him as other people. A lot of people are telling me that they really like what they see from him, that he's shown a lot of promise. I'm not really seeing it, so I'm not as high on Kenny Pickett. I think by year 3 or 4, people are going to be putting pressure on the Steelers to move on from him. Swift or Williams? For now, I would lean towards Jamal Williams. The Lions are giving him more opportunities in the red zone, so that's the reason I'd lean towards him. Trey, Slayton, or Gallup? I'd go Gallup. Darren Waller, has he come off the IR? I don't think so. I think Darren Waller is still on the IR. Cowboys 80-0. I don't know if the Cowboys are going to make it as far as you want. I don't think they're going to win the division, but come playoff time, I absolutely seeing them winning at least one game. I'd love to see Dallas Cowboys, Tom Brady, and the Buccaneers. I think that would be an absolute primetime matchup. Yeah, Devontae Adams, I feel bad that he's on the Raiders. He's put up some monster numbers. Speaking of a bet I like for Thursday Night Football, Devontae Adams, an anytime touchdown. You may also want to parlay that with a Raiders win. Devontae Adams has twice as many touchdowns on the road this year as he does at home. Cam Akers or ETN this week. I can't believe I'm saying it, I may lean towards Cam Akers. I've been fading the Rams offense for the last few weeks, but ETN is banged up. He's going up against a really good Tennessee Titans defense against the run. Cam Akers might be the better play between the two. Do I think for real that the Chargers can make a run in the playoffs? No, I don't think they can make a run in the playoffs. Any takes on Njoku the rest of the year? I'm just worried about his health, but when it comes to his productivity, he could do really well in this offense with Deshaun Watson. One of the things that makes Deshaun Watson so good is when he starts to scramble, linebackers, safeties, members of the secondary, they have to try and collapse, come towards him. I always feel like that opens up pockets in the defense for guys like a tight end who if you just sit there and you just turn around and you plant yourself in the right spot, you could get a lot of yards. I think Njoku could do well with him. P. Ryan, Rachaad White, Foreman, or Hunt rest of the season. Rest of the season? I mean, I lean towards Samaje P. Ryan. He's on the best team, and Joe Mixon's status, goes back and forth with me. I'm not crazy about Foreman. I think he's going to have a big week. If you were asking about this week, I would say Foreman, but I'm not as crazy about him over the remainder of the year. For me right now, I like what I'm seeing out of Rachaad White. He's bringing a good receiver out of the backfield in that Tampa Bay Bucks offense. But this is a tough one for me. I'm kind of leaning towards P. Ryan and White. I'm not as crazy about Kareem Hunt. I thought that if he was going to get his best production out of this year, it was going to come before Deshaun Watson came back. Appreciate all of you joining us on TikTok Live and on YouTube at Fumble Sports on TikTok Live, YouTube, and Instagram, and at Sports Fumble on Twitter. Thoughts on Pierce and Kamara? I lean, if I'm not mistaken, yeah, the Saints are on a bye week this week. Jerry Jeudy, Latavius Murray, or Zay Jones. I'm going to lean towards Jerry Jeudy. If Zay Jones is healthy, I might like him, but I think Jerry Jeudy might be the right play out of that group. Appreciate all of you joining us. Please just throw your comments in the comment section. I'll absolutely answer them. And then just give us a like after I answer it. Who's my favorite team? I've been working in sports media for about 15 years, so at this point I don't really have a favorite team. I did come from New England, so I grew up a Patriots fan, but at this point I've been through everything with that team, from buying groceries with Bill Parcells to different gates, whether it's Spy or Deflate. And now I've kind of seen all the teams, so not nearly as big a Patriots fan as I used to be. I just love football and I love the NFL, love talking sports. Is Brady still the best quarterback in the NFC? No, he's not. Tom Brady had a great drive to win the game last night, but if you actually saw Tom Brady through the first 3.5 quarters of that game, he looked pretty pedestrian. At times he looked old. I don't know if Tom Brady is a top 5 quarterback in the NFC right now, let alone being the best quarterback. Pollard, Pacheco, or Foreman. I would go with Pollard against the Houston Texans run defense, the worst in the NFL. Foreman would be number 2 for me, and then Pacheco would be last. Pacheco or Etienne. I may go Pacheco on this one. They're going up against the Denver Broncos defense. That's a really good one. But the Tennessee Titans defense, I believe, is second best in the NFL. So I lean towards Pacheco over Etienne, especially since Etienne's banged up. Dak or Brady. You even got it from a fellow member of the comments section. I would go with Dak. No brainer. Foreman or Walker at the flex this week. I'd go with Foreman. The Seahawks are the worst one of the worst defenses against the run. The Carolina Panthers defense is better than people think. I like Foreman. Appreciate all of you joining us and appreciate the comments. Rams or Texans for what? Who's going to get the number 1 seed? Well, it's going to be the Texans, because even if the Rams got the number 1 seed, it wouldn't belong to the Los Angeles Rams. It would belong to the Detroit Lions, who get that pick in exchange for the Matt Stafford trade from a year ago. Deontay Foreman or Miles Sanders. Surprisingly, I'm going to go Deontay Foreman. I think he's going to have a good day this week, or this upcoming Sunday. Pacheco or Fournette? Pacheco. Do you think Aaron Rodgers is washed up, or are the problems coming from coaching or the team? I think it's a mixture. I think Aaron Rodgers needs to take responsibility. I think it's never Aaron Rodgers' fault. He always points it at somebody else. There's always some excuse for Aaron Rodgers, whether it's his thumb, or the front office doesn't do what he wants, or his receivers have drops. But I think it's a mixture. I think the Packers didn't do enough to build a successful team. I think the early struggles by the Packers got them off to a tough start. I think the NFC, it has its dominant teams this year, and the Packers clearly aren't one of them. So they needed certain things to go their way, and they didn't have an answer to trading Davante Adams. A great note, when the Minnesota Vikings traded Stephon Diggs, the pick they got from the Buffalo Bills became Justin Jefferson. The Packers didn't have the same plan. When they traded Davante Adams, they had no plan in place to pick up a great wide receiver and to pair that wide receiver with Rodgers for the next 2-3 years. So I think it's the front office's fault. I think it's the coaching staff's fault for not developing the offense throughout the year. But Aaron Rodgers has to take his blame as well. Treylon Burks or DJ Moore. I'm not crazy about either one. I'd probably lean towards DJ Moore, but I'm really not crazy about either one of them this week. Should you put in Garrett Wilson? The answer is yes to me. I know the Bills have a good defense, but they're better against the run than they are against the pass. And ever since Mike White took over, you're seeing a brand new Garrett Wilson, just a lot more production, especially between the 20s. So I like Garrett Wilson. Do I have a team I want to see do well? Not really. I just like seeing good action. I want to see competitive games, and I want to see my teams that I pick cash. If you're a sports management major, how do you get started looking for a job? You reach out to Butt Fumble Sports, at Sports Fumble on Twitter, and at Butt Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Butt Fumble Sports is a new sports content company, and we're a network that's trying to empower the fan. So if you want to work in sports media, whether it's as on-air talent, research, sales and marketing, anything, we're a new sports content company that's actually made for the sports fan. So reach out to us. We're already signing and hiring content creators from a wide variety of backgrounds, people who are lawyers, single parents, and it's like, I love talking sports, but how do I get to Bristol, or how do I get to Fox Sports? How do I get to sports media? Reach out to Butt Fumble Sports. We're the place for you. So if you want to work in sports media, reach out to us and we'll help you get there. Pacheco or Etienne, I need this win to have a shot at the playoffs. We're rooting for you, Noah. I would lean towards Pacheco, but keep the health status of Etienne in mind. You may want to check on his status throughout the week. If he's 100% healthy, I would lean towards Etienne, but for now, at least right now, I'd make Pacheco the start. Pollard, Pacheco, or Foreman this week. For me, that's a no-brainer. It's Pollard, with Foreman being number 2. Pollard going up against the worst run defense in the NFL. Appreciate all of you joining us at Butt Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, and at Sports Fumble on Twitter. Please give us a like. If I answer your question, please give us a like. We appreciate it. And of course, subscribe at Butt Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. We appreciate the gifts and the tips. Bengals or Brown, what's my pick? So I like the Bengals on the money line, but I like the Browns to cover. I would buy the 1.5. I would get Browns plus 6.5, plus 7, but I would take the Bengals on the money line. I think it's going to be a more competitive game than people think. I think it's going to be within 3-4 points. Will Lovie Smith get fired? I certainly hope so. I didn't like his hire. I didn't know what he did to earn that job in the first place. I thought Lovie Smith just came off of an unsuccessful period in college football. So I don't know how Lovie Smith got that job. That was kind of bizarre to me. If Lovie Smith had been white, there would have been so many people up in arms about that hire, but because he was African American, nobody said anything. But it was a disaster of a hire. It made no sense when it happened. It was just a bad call. So that said, I don't think Lovie Smith should be the head coach of the Houston Texans. I think they should fire him. We appreciate that you like our name, Butt Fumble Sports. Bills or Chiefs defense this week. So the Chiefs are going up against the Denver Broncos, which means they're going up against Russell Wilson, which means I'm going to take them every freaking time. So give me the Chiefs. I know the Bills have a good defense and they're going to be at home, but I think Mike White has shown he can zip the ball around a little bit better. And to me, it's like anytime I can take the under on a Broncos game or the opposing defense going up against the Broncos, I'm doing it. Burrow or Goff this week. I know Burrow had a big game last week, but I would go with Jared Goff this week. He's going up against the Vikings defense that gives up a lot of passing yards. I think Jared Goff has a really good week. If we've answered your question, please give us a like. Yeah, the Chargers offensive line, really weak. Really weak. Do I think the Chiefs will win this week? Absolutely. That said, I like the Chiefs on the money line, but I do like the Broncos to cover. You can buy the 1.5 and get Broncos plus 10.5. I love that play. When divisional opponents play each other and the underdog is 7-8 points in the spread, that goes off at something like 70% of the time. So I really like the underdog in that game. Chiefs on the money line, Broncos to cover plus 10.5. I also like the under in that game. Appreciate the likes, appreciate the tips, appreciate the gifts, and of course, give us a follow at Butt Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, and at Sports Fumble on Twitter. Christian Watson or Marquise Brown, not just for this week, but like the points I can trust. I'd go with, the only problem is Christian Watson isn't playing this week, so you're going to have to go with Marquise Brown for the week. But as for the long-term play, I think I lean actually slightly towards Christian Watson just a bit. My only concern is it's going to become Jordan Love time in Green Bay, and that may impact how well that offense is running. But for now, I got to go with Christian Watson. Deontay Foreman or Miles Sanders. I'm going to lean towards Deontay Foreman. I think Miles Sanders is kind of the focal point of the running game for obviously the Eagles, and I think the Giants are going to want to take that away. I think Foreman could have a big day against the Seahawks offense that really struggles against the run. Yeah, Mayfield going to the Rams. I mean, he's trying to keep himself in the NFL. He's one step away from the XFL at this point, where the Rams are just desperate for healthy bodies at the quarterback position. I'm kind of interested to see what Sean McVay does with Mayfield. The rumors are he may get on the field for Thursday Night Football. Crazy to think you just join a team as a quarterback and you could be the starting quarterback or at least see action. So I am kind of curious to know what they do with him, but amazing to think how far he's gone. I got some waiver wire plays at running back for you. I can help you out there. A couple players I would consider. Jordan Mason of the San Francisco 49ers. He's owned in less than 4% of leagues on ESPN. He's projected to get just under 5 fantasy points this week. Kenneth Gainwell, someone you may want to consider. He's owned in less than 10% of leagues from the Philadelphia Eagles. And Chuba Hubbard, for a running back for the Carolina Panthers. He's going up against a really bad Seahawks defense, ranked 30th in fantasy versus running backs. He's projected to get just under 6 points this week. One more for you. Joshua Kelly, owned in less than 2% of leagues on ESPN. And he's playing a Dolphins defense that is ranked 18th in fantasy versus running backs. Appreciate all of you joining us. Please like our channel. Give us a follow at Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. At Sports Fumble on Twitter. And of course, we appreciate the gifts and the tips. Chiefs or Bills defense? I'm going Chiefs. If you've got questions, throw them into the comments section. I'm ready for you. Do you get rid of Amari Cooper or no? The answer is absolutely not. This is the time you have Amari Cooper. I think Deshaun Watson's going to get this rust off, and I think he will play better, and Amari Cooper will be his number one target. DeAndre Swift or Jalen Waddle? I would lean just slightly towards DeAndre Swift. Dak Prescott or Deshaun Watson this week? I'm going to lean towards Deshaun Watson. I think the running game of the Cowboys is going to be the focal point this week against the Texans. I think Deshaun Watson could have the better week. Appreciate all of you joining us on YouTube and TikTok Live. Swift or ETN this week? I'd go Swift. Please give us a like if we've answered your question. Patty Burrow, Patty Burrow, Patty Burrow. I don't know what you're asking for. You think Lockett will have another good week? Yes, I do. I think he will have another good week against the Panthers defense. How do I feel about the Colts hiring Jeff Saturday? I thought it was Jim Irsay, who's one of the worst owners in the NFL, doing something to appease fans, to keep them happy so they'll keep coming to games, keep buying jerseys, and keep spending money. But really, I thought it was Jim Irsay's way of punting on the season. In his own way, it was his way of tanking, getting ready for the draft next year. But I didn't think it was that good a hire if he wanted to be competitive. I thought staying with Frank Reich. I really think the issues that the Colts have aren't a head coach. They're a quarterback. Ever since Andrew Luck retired, this team hasn't gone out and found its future franchise quarterback. They keep trying to bring in these substitute teachers and expecting these guys to somehow mesh. I don't think that's the strategy you need to have. If I were the Colts, I would tank. I would go get C.J. Stroud. I would go get Bryce Young. I would go build around a young quarterback, and I'd start fresh. ETN, Pierce, or Foreman this week? Pick 2. I'll go ETN and Foreman. Thoughts on King Henry and his lack of fantasy production the last 2 weeks? I think he's going to bounce back this week. I expect a big day from Derrick Henry. I expect over 100 rushing yards against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Bengals, Brown, what's my pick? I like the Bengals on the money line, but I like the Browns to cover after you buy 1.5. I also am considering the over for that game. Travis Etienne or James Conner? My concern is Travis Etienne healthy? If Etienne's a full 100% go, I'll go Etienne. But if not, I got to go Conner. My only concern, Conner going up against the Patriots defense, one of the best in the NFL. Okay, I'm going to rate your team. Lamar Jackson, Jamal Williams, Rashad White, Amari Cooper, Waddle, Christian Watson, and TJ Hawkinson. Love that team. The problem is you have a quarterback issue. If you need a quarterback to go pick up off the waiver wire, look to see if Jared Goff is available. You may also want to consider 3 guys I'm looking at off the waiver wire this week if you're really desperate. Kenny Pickett, Ryan Tannehill, and Mac Jones. Just the usual suspect of white boys. Yeah, Matt Ryan. I mentioned this the other night. My concern with Matt Ryan is he looks wobbly. Whenever I talk about a quarterback who looks wobbly, it tells me they should be retired. That they can't stand on 2 legs without feeling like they're just going to collapse, like they're on stilts. And right now, Matt Ryan cannot stand in the pocket against a pass rush and look sturdy and look like he's going to come out without having a Joe Theismann injury. So I'm kind of worried for Matt Ryan these days. Who's coming out of the AFC this season? I think it's going to be the Buffalo Bills. I think they're going to be the number 1 seed overall. And the fact that teams are going to have to go into Buffalo and try and win, I think that's a really tough proposition for them. I think the Chiefs, the Dolphins, both of those teams, I don't feel good about going into Buffalo. The only team I could see winning in Buffalo, the only 2 actually, are the Tennessee Titans. Bizarrely as that sounds, it would just take a big game from Derrick Henry in a very windy game. But I could see Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals going into Buffalo and winning. I think it would be really tough for the Kansas City Chiefs to go into Buffalo and win, given how reliant they are on Patrick Mahomes through the air. Herbert or Rodgers, well, you don't have a problem this week. Aaron Rodgers isn't playing. He's going to be on a bye week. So Justin Herbert is an easy play. Same goes for Fields and Allen. I think that, if I'm not mistaken, the Chicago Bears are also on a bye week. They are. So you'll be going with Josh Allen this week. No problems. Hi, pal. Do you think the 49ers are still a contender without Jimmy G? I don't think they're a contender for the Super Bowl. I think they're a contender at best for an NFC Championship game appearance, but I really don't think much of them without Jimmy G. That said, I didn't really think much of them with Jimmy G. I think they're a system. They're built around their defense and their stars on offense. But right now, to me, the Eagles and the Cowboys are just in a different class. I'd also, if the Minnesota Vikings play at home, I like the Minnesota Vikings. If you take Minnesota or you take the Vikings out of Minnesota, I'm not as crazy about them. Best receiver core, 49ers or the Bengals? I'm going to go with the Bengals. I just like the fact that you get so much out of them in the receiving game. To me, the 49ers really are Brandon Ayuk and a Swiss Army knife in Deebo Samuel. So I like the receiving core. I like the wide receivers more of the Bengals. Swift or ETN this week? I'd lean towards Swift. Appreciate all of you joining us on YouTube and Twitter, at ButtFumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, at SportsFumble on Twitter. Does Eli Payton coaching Pro Bowl flag football make it watchable? No, but I think people are desperate for football that time of year. I think they would watch paint dry if someone called it football. Raiders or Chiefs defense this week? That's a good question. I lean towards the Chiefs only because I actually think the Raiders on short rest makes me a little bit concerned. I don't know why. Maybe I shouldn't be. Maybe that makes the Rams offense even worse. So I don't know. I think I lean towards the Chiefs just slightly. But I don't think you can go wrong with either one of those, really. Yeah, I would start Jeff Wilson this week. Sutton or Rashad White? I think you got to go Cortland Sutton. Rashad White's going up against the San Francisco 49ers, one of the best run defenses, if not the best run defense in the NFL. Swift, ETN, or Jamal Williams? Pick 2. I'll go DeAndre Swift and I'll go Jamal Williams. Appreciate all of you joining us on TikTok Live and on YouTube. Please give us a like. We appreciate tips, gifts, support. Please subscribe to our channels at ButtFumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, and at SportsFumble on Twitter. You have Mike White and Mr. Irrelevant. Well, you certainly cornered the market on white boys that once were backups. Yeah, the Colts need to get rid of Matt Ryan as the starter. It's just not the right fit. If you've got fantasy questions, we're here to help you. Please put them in the comment section, and once we answer them, please give us a like. Wilson or Pacheco, I would go Wilson. Foreman or Pacheco, I would go Foreman. Ravens defense or Chiefs defense, absolutely the Chiefs defense, no brainer. Pick 2, Donovan Peoples-Jones, Darius Slayton, or Deontay Johnson. I would go Deontay Johnson and Donovan Peoples-Jones. Do you like Jamal Williams in fantasy? Very much. He's had a fantastic year, and he's very much the RB1 in the red zone for the Lions. Thoughts on P. Ryan's role going forward? I think he's still going to get plenty of touches, in part because I think the Bengals have played better with him on the field. I think when they have Joe Mixon on the field, they try and get a bit too cute, where when they put P. Ryan on, it is a straight north-south, we're running the football, a more smash-mouth approach. I actually think it does well for their offense. Sutton or Rachaad White for this week, or Donovan Peoples-Jones. Well, I'm going to lean slightly towards Courtland Sutton, just slightly, and I'd probably put Donovan Peoples-Jones second with Rachaad White third. If you like our content, please give us a follow at ButtFumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, and at SportsFumble on Twitter. And of course, give us a like. We appreciate the support. Is Nick Sirianni Coach of the Year? Someone mentioned this to me in one of my videos that we put out. ButtFumble Sports, we put out rant videos after every NFL football game, so check us out at ButtFumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, and at SportsFumble on Twitter. I think Nick Sirianni isn't getting enough respect and enough love for the job that he's done. People are talking about Jalen Hurts as the MVP. We're talking about the Eagles being arguably the best team in the NFL. Howie Roseman as Executive of the Year. Nick Sirianni's getting absolutely no love for Head Coach of the Year. He certainly deserves it, so I would add him to the list of what seems to be a dozen head coaches who are in the running this year. Do I think Russell Wilson's success in Seattle was due to Pete Carroll? No, I think it was a combination of factors. They had one of the best defenses in NFL history. They had one of the most dynamic in terms of power running back style, running backs in Marshawn Lynch. He just changed everything. And I think Russell Wilson's off-script plays were really outstanding for a number of years with Doug Baldwin, with Tyler Lockett. But when you don't have an offensive line, you can't make those plays at the same frequency. And when Russell Wilson, I think he started to believe his own hype. He started to believe in the let Russ cook brand and theory more than anyone else. And so he started to chuck the ball around. He started throwing interceptions, making mistakes. He's not as good a quarterback. I think if he got back to his fundamentals and relied on his defense in Denver, the Broncos could be a competitive team. They could be a 500 team. I just think Denver needs to tell Russell Wilson to, frankly, no pun intended, get off his high horse and play a more structured game manager style of football. White or Wilson, who should you start? I would start Wilson. Oh, I got you. So you've got White and Mr. Irrelevant as your backups. I think I would probably start Mike White. Appreciate all of you joining us. Please give us a like. Please give us a follow at ButtFumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, and at SportsFumble on Twitter. We're here to answer your fantasy football questions or gambling questions. If you've got questions for NFL Week 14, game picks, player prop bets, anything that you need, we're here for you. We want to help make your NFL Week 14 a very successful one. Do I like Cole Kmet, or is he just lucky this week? Well, Cole Kmet's on a bye week, so you don't have to play him this week. But I do like him. He's a talented tight end, and you're seeing he's got good chemistry with Justin Fields, so I do like him. Chargers versus Dolphins. Who do I like for that game? I lean towards the Dolphins on the money line, but I do like the Chargers to cover. I would buy the 1.5. I would take Dolphins on the money line and the Chargers plus 4.5. If you like our bets, give us a tip, give us a gift. We hope they're going to cash for you. And of course, if we answer your question, give us a like. Should the Packers trade Jordan Love? No. Lope, you're funny with these questions. I like some of them, and others I think are a little off base, simply because they need to evaluate Jordan Love before they trade him. I think it's really important that the Packers do their due diligence before they move on from Aaron Rodgers. The last thing you want to do is pull a New England Patriots. Move on from Tom Brady and don't have your plan figured out quite yet. If you've got fantasy football questions and you're watching us on YouTube right now, ask your questions. Don't worry. We'll be able to get them to us. So ask your questions. More than happy to answer them. We're here for you. But Fumble Sports is a new sports content company. Alias Ramirez, I'm being told you got a fantasy question. So if you got a fantasy question, make sure you put it in the chat. I'm more than happy to answer it. So we're here for you. Hopkins or Metcalf? I would go Metcalf only because Hopkins is going up against the New England Patriots. My fear is that Bill Belichick's going to do what he does so often, take away the number one weapon for the Cardinals. So they're going to want to double DeAndre Hopkins, try and limit his production. Appreciate all of you joining us. Definitely give us a follow at ButtFumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, and at SportsFumble on Twitter. We appreciate likes. We appreciate tips. If we're giving you good answers, we appreciate the support. And, of course, give us some likes. I'm on you're on a bye week this week. Who should you target? Well, let us know some of the positions you need help in. Some players that I like off the waiver wire this week: at quarterback, Kenny Pickett, Ryan Tannehill; at running back, Chuba Hubbard, Joshua Kelly; at wide receiver, Michael Gallup and Trent Sherfield; and at tight end, Hunter Henry and Austin Hooper. Your playoffs start this week, so I'm thinking about the next 4 weeks and not just this week. That's what you got to do. You got to start planning out for the playoffs ahead. If I answer your question, please give us a like. Jamal Williams or James Conner this week in fantasy? Got to go Jamal Williams. Do you think I should trade Tony Pollard and Amari Cooper for Kenneth Walker and Christian Watson? Absolutely not. Pollard and Amari Cooper, keep them. Do not make that trade. What are your thoughts on Derrick Henry going into this week? I think he's going to have a big bounce back week. I think Derrick Henry is going to play well against the Jacksonville Jaguars defense that's bad against the run. Appreciate all of you joining us on TikTok Live as ButtFumble Sports goes through NFL Week 14. If you need help with your fantasy team, if you need picks, we've got them for you. Here's a question we got off of, I think I just answered that one. But I'm going to answer it one more time. Should I trade Tony Pollard and Amari Cooper for Kenneth Walker and Christian Watson? My playoffs start this week, so I'm thinking of the next 4 weeks. The answer is absolutely not. You're going to want Tony Pollard and Amari Cooper the next 4 weeks. They're going to be really productive. One, Amari Cooper is going to build more chemistry with Deshaun Watson, so he's going to put up better numbers as the month goes along. And also Tony Pollard. If the Cowboys are going to do anything, the Cowboys they need to win. To keep pace with the Eagles, to keep pace with the Vikings, the Cowboys need to win. They're going to have to run the ball. Tony Pollard will put up big numbers. So absolutely keep Tony Pollard and Amari Cooper. If you want some of my picks for NFL Week 14, let me know. Ask which game you need help with. If there are player props you want, let me know. Happy to give them out. And of course, answering fantasy football questions. So if you have questions, we've got answers. Just put them in the comments section and give us some likes. Zonovan Knight, I'm not crazy about him this week against the Bills, so if you can find someone else, I would go with them, but you may want to consider, if you're in a desperate spot, I do think he'll get some touches, but I'm not crazy about him. Should you trade Byard and Hunter Renfrow for A.J. Brown? Yeah, if you can get A.J. Brown, do it. Ramondre and Jamar Chase for Godwin and Amon-Ra St. Brown. I'd rather have Ramondre Stevenson and Jamar Chase. Samaje Perine, I think Perine is going to unfortunately, be splitting some touches with Joe Mixon, but I do expect him to be involved in the offense, but I think he's a flex at best. I don't think he's necessarily someone that you want to play consistently. Once again, the Vikings are underdogs. I really like the Vikings in that game. The ButtFumble Sports pick for that game is Minnesota to cover after you buy the 1.5, so I would get them right now at +4. Vikings +4 feels like a gift. This game is a 1 o'clock game in a dome, so all the talk about Kirk Cousins on the road or in prime time, you're not dealing with any of that. This is Kirk Cousins on the road in a dome against a bad Lions defense. I really like the Vikings to cover. I could see the Lions winning. It's the only reason I'm not taking Vikings on the money line, but I like the Vikings to cover, especially if I can get above 3.5, 4 points. White or Fournette? White. Is Pacheco a solid flex play this week? I don't know what solid means, but you can put him as a flex play. That's as high as I go. I certainly wouldn't make him an RB2. Howdy, howdy. Mixon or Jamal Williams the rest of the season? It's Jamal Williams for me. He's had a great year so far. No reason for me to think it ends, especially with Joe Mixon having injury problems of his own. Josh Allen, Burrow, Uncle Rico this week. I'm going to lean towards Burrow. Though Uncle Rico can throw it a country mile. Yeah, Jamal Williams. I'm all about him. He's had a monster year. He's really been one of the top 10 running backs in the NFL this season, so I'm big on Jamal Williams this year. Appreciate all of you joining us. Please give us some likes, and of course, give us a follow at Fumble Sports on TikTok and YouTube, as we're streaming live on TikTok Live and on YouTube. If you've got fantasy questions, or if you've got questions for NFL Week 14, games, prop bets, or the like, we're here for you. Keep Josh Evans or get Mixon. I'd keep Josh Evans. He's having a good stretch. They're both kind of banged up. I'd go with Josh Jacobs, rather. Josh Jacobs, not Josh Evans, Josh Jacobs. I saw Mike Evans. I think Mike Evans will have a decent day. Not a great day against the 49ers defense, but he'll put up decent numbers. Decent being, I hope you get a touchdown out of him, but I think he's closer to like 50 receiving yards. Depending who I get on the waiver wire, Huntley or Purdy at Superflex QB, it's got to be Purdy. I don't trust Huntley. Appreciate all of you joining us. Please give us a like. We appreciate the tips and the gifts. And of course, give us a follow and subscribe at Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, and at Sports Fumble on Twitter. I do like Brandon Ayuk. I don't think he's going to fall off too much, even with the rookie quarterback. I think they're going to stay inside the system, which benefits Ayuk. Tua, Fields, or Geno this week? Well, you're okay because Fields is on a bye week. Tua is going up against the Chargers defense that is going to provide a lot of opportunities. Geno, I think he's going to have a good game against the Carolina Panthers defense. But out of that group, I lean towards Tua. Here's my only concern. The offensive tackle position was banged up last week for the Dolphins. You saw how that went down against the 49ers with those injuries. So I would be slightly concerned if those injuries are still the same, if those offensive tackles are both still out. I know one's on IR, but Eric Fisher's supposed to be coming in. But Austin Jackson on IR, Armstead at the other tackle position. If they're out, you may want to go with Geno Smith. Miles Sanders or Dalvin Cook? I'm going to lean towards Dalvin Cook. Should you pick up the Lions defense? Absolutely not. One of the worst defenses in the NFL. Terrible decision. Burrow or Mahomes? Burrow. Corey Davis or Trent Sherfield? Well, we have them both as we have them both as waiver wire pickups this week. I would lean towards Corey Davis because in the Jets offense, Corey Davis is a wide receiver 2, where in the Dolphins offense, Trent Sherfield is a wide receiver 3. Though you've seen a couple of times this year, Sherfield's had good production. He finds a way to get open, and Tua has good chemistry with him. Who is on my fantasy team this year? I really went big. I'm a big believer in getting a quarterback that you really believe in. So I got Patrick Mahomes. I also got Tony Pollard. I have Aaron Jones at wide receiver. I have A.J. Brown. I have Keenan Allen. My defenses, I always like special teams and defense. I always make sure. I'm in auction draft leagues, so I always make sure to spend my money. So I have the Bills defense and the 49ers defense. At kicker, I get Justin Tucker every year. And at tight end, I have Njoku and I believe Hawkinson in my other league. And I'm missing out on a couple wide receivers there, but I have a couple of them there as well. If you had to pick one to sit this week, who would you pick? Jamar Chase, A.J. Brown, Amon-Ra St. Brown, or Godwin. This is one to sit this week. I'd lean towards sitting Godwin. Godwin would be the player I'd sit. I know you're saying it's all about DeAndre Swift now. I think it's about Swift between the 20s. In the passing game, sure, but between the 20s. When it comes to the red zone, I feel really good about Jamal Williams. I think they'll continue to feed him. If you've got stats to counter it, I'd love to hear it. So, Butt Fumble Sports, we love engaging with the sports fan. If you think you've got a better take or better analysis, we're all about it. Just put it in the comments section. Reach out to us on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, or TikTok. We're here for it. Amari Cooper or T. Higgins. I'm going to lean towards T. Higgins. Eagles defense or Cowboys defense? I'm going Cowboys defense. Is Jordan Mason a good fantasy football pickup just in case? You hit the nail on the head. Jordan Mason is actually a member of our Waiver Wire watch this week. We just put out a video today saying you should check him out. I think he's a good pickup. Mark Andrews. I really am fading Mark Andrews. I think not only is the loss of Lamar Jackson going to hurt him, but the Steelers are going to make sure they blanket him in coverage. I really don't like Mark Andrews. Is the Raiders defense a good play against the Rams? Also, Raiders -6. I think the Raiders defense could be a good play against the Rams. I don't think that's a bad play in fantasy. As for Raiders -6, I'm not going to touch that one. I'll take Raiders on the money line, and I'll take the under in that game. If I've answered your fantasy question or I've answered your question in the chat, please give us a like. And of course, we appreciate the gifts. Sanders or Pollard? Pollard. Sanders or Cook? Cook. Burrow or Mahomes? I'll go Burrow. Appreciate all of you joining us on TikTok Live and on YouTube. At Butt Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. And at Sports Fumble on Twitter. Lenny Slay start over ETN? Nope, I think I'd start ETN. Thoughts on Kadarius Toney? I had high hopes for him entering into that Chiefs offense. He just needs to stay healthy enough to build chemistry with Mahomes. Thoughts on Deontay Johnson this week? Really like him. Think he's going to have a good week. Hoping that he's targeted a number of times by Pickett. Thoughts on Kamara going into the fantasy playoffs? I don't like it, Spain. I have my fears that Alvin Kamara is in the midst of his worst fantasy season so far, and I don't think it's going to get any better given what I've seen now from the Saints offense. Jameson Williams. Love Jameson Williams as a story. Not crazy about him on the field just yet. I need to see more production from him before I can trust him in my fantasy lineup. Pick 2 for the flex. Najee Harris, Deebo Samuel, Juju Smith-Schuster, Treylon Burks, Pacheco, Rondale Moore, Nico Collins. Okay, lot going on there. I'm going to go with Deebo Samuel for sure. And I'll lean towards Treylon Burks just slightly. I'm not really big on Najee Harris, that's why. Jordan Mason or Chuba Hubbard, which one would I go with? Both are waiver wire watch pickups for me. I would lean towards Chuba Hubbard. Cousins against Detroit, Dak against the Texans, or Kyler against the Patriots. That would be Kirk Cousins against the Detroit Lions, a no-brainer for me. Baltimore defense against the Steelers, or Tampa Bay defense against the 49ers. Go with Tampa Bay's defense. Ticket or Myers this week? I don't know what you're talking about. Is that George Pickens? If it's George Pickens or Myers this week, I'd probably lean towards Myers. If I've answered your fantasy question or you like what you hear, please give us a like. Pacheco, Pierce, or Murray this week. I'm going to lean towards Pacheco. Keep Burks or trade him. If you can trade him, I would definitely see if you can get value for him. Sanders or Connor, you have Christian McCaffrey as the RB1. I'm going to lean towards Miles Sanders. If I've answered your question, please give us a like. What are your top 3 wide receiver ads at running back? And tip for 3 wide receivers. Appreciate the tip. My waiver wire pickups this week at running back. Jordan Mason of the 49ers. Chuba Hubbard of the Carolina Panthers. and Joshua Kelly of the LA Chargers. As for wide receiver, Michael Gallup of the Dallas Cowboys, Trent Sherfield of the Miami Dolphins, and Corey Davis of the New York Jets. Tucker or Myers, I'd go Tucker. Juju, Corey, or Pacheco? I might lean towards Corey Davis. Appreciate all of you joining us. Please give us a like and, of course, follow us at Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, and at Sports Fumble on Twitter. Hollins or Pacheco, interesting play. I'd probably lean slightly towards Pacheco. Pacheco, White, or Zonovan Knight this week. I'm going to lean towards Pacheco. What do I think of the Browns defense after Week 13? I think they played the Texans in Week 13. I don't think they're going to have the same success against the Joe Burrow-led Cincinnati Bengals this week. Do I like the Patriots defense this week? Yes, I do, against the Arizona Cardinals. My only concern is they don't do well historically. Belichick defenses don't do well against mobile quarterbacks. I'd be slightly concerned, but I do think they're going to take away the run, stop James Conner, and I do think they'll have a good game plan for DeAndre Hopkins. Appreciate all the support. Give us a follow at Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Higgins or Christian Kirk? I'm going to lean slightly towards T. Higgins. Tyler Huntley or Mike White? I'm going Mike White. Miles Sanders or Zeke? I'd go Zeke. Justin Tucker or Jason Myers? I'd go Justin Tucker. Pacheco or Lenny? I'm going Pacheco. Appreciate all the support. Please give us a follow and, of course, give us some likes. If you've got questions for NFL Week 14, we're here for you. Fantasy football questions, game pick questions, player prop pick questions, anything you need, we're here for it at Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Choose two, Chubb, Etienne, or Pollard. Chubb and Pollard, those are the two I would go with. Waiver wire watch pickups for me. At tight end, Noah Fant, Austin Hooper, Hunter Henry. At wide receiver, Corey Davis, Trent Sherfield, Michael Gallup. At running back, Joshua Kelly, Chuba Hubbard, Kenneth Gainwell, and Jordan Mason. And at quarterback, Ryan Tannehill and Kenny Pickett. Those are some waiver wire pickups you may want to consider this week. Fournette or Pacheco? Pacheco. Pacheco or Corey Davis? I'd lean towards Corey Davis. Huntley, Goff, or Brady? I can't believe I'm saying it, but Goff. Appreciate all of you joining us. If you've got fantasy football questions, put them in the chat. We've got you. True or false, Detroit will beat Minnesota? Tough one for me. I will say true, but I'm also going to say Minnesota covers. My best bet of that game is Minnesota +4. So I'm not sure if Detroit's going to win. I think it's going to come down to a last second field goal, last second drive. But the Fumble Sports pick for that game is Minnesota to cover +4. I don't like Dulcich this week. I would sit him. Cousins, Watson, or Goff? I would go with Cousins. You can't go wrong. I would go with Cousins or with Goff. I think they're both going to put up massive numbers. Appreciate all of you joining us. Please give us a follow and give us a like. Tampa Bay backfield thoughts. I think you're seeing Rachaad White emerge. I like to see compare Tom Brady's past to present. So to me, Fournette, Rachaad White is very LeGarrette Blount, James White to me. So Rachaad White in that James White role, he can run, he can be a third down back, he can be in the receiving game, where Leonard Fournette's kind of the LeGarrette Blount. He's going to be the north-south runner kind of power back. Higgins or Christian Kirk? I'd go T. Higgins. I got you, man. I got you. Higgins or Christian Kirk? Higgins. That's who I'm going with. Higgins. I got you. Burrow or Watson? I'm going Burrow. Tyler Boyd, I'm not crazy about him this week, but, I still think he could be a decent flex play. I'm just not crazy about him. But 2K, just in case you didn't hear me, Higgins. I like Higgins. I got you, man. Give us a like, dude. I appreciate you. Do I like the Vikings defense in fantasy? Absolutely not. Terrible decision. Don't touch them in fantasy football. They give up a lot of points, a lot of yards. Buffalo defense or New England defense? I'd go with the New England defense. Oh, when your defense scores more than your top 3 players, it's not a good week. I hope you have a bounce back week, Detroit. Okay, you got a big one. Metcalf, Higgins, Kirk, or D-Hop. Choose 3. I'll probably sit Christian Kirk. I think he could have a big day, but I can't, even though I want to sit D-Hop in this because he's going up against the Patriots, I simply can't. He's just too consistent in the numbers he puts up. So I'd go Metcalf, Higgins, and D-Hop would be the 3. I got you, DK. I told you. Give us some likes. Give us a follow. A person in my league traded Zeke and got Jamal Williams, Devontae Smith, and Deontay Johnson. Yes, you should veto it. You don't want robbery happening. You don't live in the Wild West. You can't just let bank robberies happen while you just walk away. Am I crazy? And by the way, I'm not big about vetoing trades unless it's that egregious. Like, if someone wants to give away $100 on the street, that's your business. But if someone's robbing a bank and you just walk past, that's a different story. That is bank robbery. Don't allow that trade to happen. Is White a pickup? Zamar White? I don't know Zamar White. You're going to have to educate me on who Zamar White is. Seahawks, Vikings, Titans. If you're asking about which defense I would go with, it'd be Seahawks. Swift or Jamal Williams, though it's been controversial. Some people have been talking back at me in this chat. I like Jamal Williams in this one more just because I think Jamal Williams is going to get more opportunities in the red zone. If you like our content, certainly appreciate the tips and appreciate gifts. But of course, give us some likes and follow us at Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, and at Sports Fumble on Twitter. Someone traded Najee Harris for DeAndre Carter because they can't make the playoffs. Veto? No, don't veto that. That's fine. If someone wants to be that kind of loser, that's fine. Especially because it's for Najee Harris. That's no big deal. Kirk, Burks, Myers, or Judy, pick 2. I'll go Christian Kirk, and I'll go Judy. Hold on to Bam Knight or drop him for someone like Akers, Hubbard, or Hilliard. No, I'd keep Bam Knight. I'd keep him because I don't think the guys you're picking up, Akers or Hubbard would be the 2 I'd go with, but that's still a crapshoot. So if you're going to go crapshoot, might as keep the one you got. Thoughts on Mostert? I think Mostert could have a really big week this week going up against the Chargers' run defense, which is terrible against the run. My only concern is the health of the tackles for the Miami Dolphins. That's the one thing I do have a concern about. Appreciate all of you joining us. Give us a follow, give us a like, give us a tip, give us a gift. We appreciate all the support at Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Murray, Gabe Davis, or Gus in the flex. Wow, hate your options this week. I'll probably go Latavius Murray. PPR, flex, Miles Sanders or Josh Palmer, Miles Sanders. Kadarius Toney or Pacheco. Some waiver wire pickups you may want to consider. At quarterback, Kenny Pickett and Ryan Tannehill. At running back, Jordan Mason, Chuba Hubbard, and Joshua Kelly. And at wide receiver, Michael Gallup, Trent Sherfield, and Corey Davis. With tight ends, Noah Fant, Austin Hooper, and Hunter Henry. All guys you may want to consider. Appreciate the support. Please give us a like, give us a follow. Appreciate gifts as well. And of course, follow us at Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, and at Sports Fumble on Twitter. Raider, if you want to get some of our player prop bets, check out our content as we go through the week. Fumble Sports puts out content every day. Waiver Wire Watch, Start Flex and Sit, player prop bets, and game picks. We absolutely will have some prop bets for you. The only reason I haven't thrown out too many so far is we're still waiting on the odds. A lot of those odds and a lot of the lines for those aren't put out quite yet. That said, if you're kind of thinking about that, where do you want to maybe put some early consideration? Kirk Cousins over his total passing yards and over 2 passing touchdowns. You may also want to consider over Jared Goff, his total passing yard total, as well as over 1.5 touchdowns for him as well. Forgive me if I said Kirk Cousins over 1.5 passing touchdowns. Over 1.5 passing touchdowns. As for running backs, Tony Pollard, I expect to have a big day, as well as Zeke Elliott. You may want to look at both of them for over their rushing yards total. As I mentioned a moment ago, Jeff Wilson Jr. and Raheem Mostert are guys you may want to consider. And at the wide receiver positions, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Christian Kirk, Keenan Allen, Deontay Johnson, these are all guys who could go over their receiving yards total. You may want to look at all of them. Waiver wire pickups at tight end. I mentioned it just a little while ago. Noah Fant is someone you may want to consider, though he's got a tough matchup this week against the Panthers. Another one is Austin Hooper. He faces the 21st ranked defense in fantasy versus tight ends in the Jaguars. And Hunter Henry, who's facing the worst defense in the NFL against tight ends in the Arizona Cardinals. Trade Kadarius Toney for Pacheco. If you're getting Pacheco, yes. Dulcich or Fant, I would go Fant. ETN or Swift, I would go Swift. Who won this trade? Mark Andrews and Pacheco and Kenneth Walker, or K9, I don't know who that is, for Jamal Williams, Christian Watson, Waddle, and Hockenson. Whoever got Williams, Watson, Waddle, and Hockenson won that trade, not even close. Pierce, Bam, or Pirine, full PPR. Ooh, don't like this one, tough. Might lean towards Pirine. I would have gone Pierce a few weeks ago, but he's going to go up against a really good defense in the Cowboys. Not crazy about those three. Why Jordan Mason? He's the backup running back for the 49ers with Elijah Mitchell back on the IR and Christian McCaffrey banged up. Jordan Mason could get some extra touches. He got about 5 fantasy points last week. Appreciate all of you joining us. Give us a follow at ButtFumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Appreciate the gifts, and of course, give us the likes. We appreciate the likes. I traded Debo, Godwin, and Juju for Kelsey, Zeke, and Pollard. Great trade, Star. Love that trade. Who are some good running backs to look at this week? If that's on the waiver wire, Chuba Hubbard is someone you may want to consider. Jordan Mason of the 49ers, who we just talked about, and Joshua Kelly. If you're looking for daily fantasy football, we put out a daily fantasy football lineup on Saturday and on Sunday morning, so check out our content at Sports Fumble on Twitter and at ButtFumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and on YouTube. Jeff Wilson, ETN, Swift, or Pacheco. Need this win bad. Okay, you got to pick two. I would go with Wilson and Swift. Yeah, if you gave away Walker and you got the Waddle, I like it. Do I think Mixon will play? I do think he will play. I still think he'll be limited and he'll split backs or split touches with Samaje Perine. Do I think Burks can get through concussion protocol? I can, but I'm just not crazy about him either way. I think he has like an average day even if he's on the field. I do like Deontay Foreman this week. Pacheco or Swift, I'd go Swift. Is DJ Dallas a pickup? Not for me. Appreciate all of your support. Appreciate the likes. Appreciate the gifts. Of course, give us a follow at ButtFumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. If you've got questions for NFL Week 14, put them in the chat. What are my thoughts on Bam Knight the rest of the season? I think he'll get time on the field, but I don't think he's going to have a monster, December. ETN or Swift? I like Swift. Appreciate all of you joining us. Please give us a follow at ButtFumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. And of course, hit that like button. We appreciate the likes. Latavius Murray, Rashad White, or DJ Moore. Not crazy about any of them, but I lean towards Latavius Murray. Eckler or Pacheco? Got to go Eckler. Not even close. Appreciate all of the support. Appreciate the likes. And of course, appreciate the follows at ButtFumble Sports. We've been doing now around 3 hours of show. We did an hour and a half on Twitter Spaces at Sports Fumble as we went through the entire NFL Week 14 slate of games. If you want to get my picks and the picks of analysts that are on that show, check out our YouTube channel at Butt Fumble Sports. We put out that video. You can get our picks for that game. And of course, you can actually watch this entire stream. It's back on YouTube, so if you missed any of the questions, if you missed my answers to any of your start, flex, or sit questions, or trades, or anything else, you can re-watch this broadcast on YouTube at Sports Fumble on Twitter, at Butt Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. So appreciate the likes, so appreciate the gifts. Should I drop Knight for Akers, James Cook, or Rachaad White? If you're going to drop them, it would be for Akers or Rachaad White, but I'm not crazy about any of them. Rachaad White would be the only one I may consider him really for. Hollywood or Judy, if Sutton is out, it would be Judy for me. Rachaad White or Burks at the flex, I would go White. Appreciate all the support. Please give us a like, and of course, give us a follow at Butt Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Pacheco or Eckler, not even a question, it's Eckler. Appreciate all of the support. Appreciate the likes, appreciate the gifts. What up, Clem Dog? Should you drop Mike Williams? Absolutely not. He's about to come back from injury. You don't want to do that now. What team's a sleeper for 2023? Ooh, good question. Look out for the Detroit Lions. The Lions have a first-round pick from the Los Angeles Rams. They're only going to get better. You see Dan Campbell building a better team. If they all of a sudden built a good defense, look out for the Detroit Lions next year. They might be a sleeper for me. Is Michael Carter and Tony droppable? I think, yeah, both of them are. I think Tony is probably the one that's more droppable. Am I streaming all week? We will be on TikTok Live almost every day this week. But of course, definitely join us on Sunday mornings at Twitter Spaces, at Sports Fumble on Twitter at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on Sunday. And then on TikTok Live, 11:30 all the way up until kickoff on Sunday mornings right here at Butt Fumble Sports. But I'm going to do a TikTok Live tomorrow night. I'll do a TikTok Live Thursday pre-game before the Thursday night kickoff. So if you've got gambling questions, fantasy questions, you can join us 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Thursday. I love talking to you guys. I love talking sports. I love engaging with football fans and trying to help you win your bets and obviously win your fantasy matchups. So I'm going to be on TikTok Live quite a bit this week. So definitely join us. Give us a follow. Give us a like. If you give us gifts and tips, it makes it easier on my life. So I certainly appreciate that. But definitely give us some likes and a follow at Butt Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, and at Sports Fumble on Twitter. Slayton or Hollywood Brown, not really crazy about either one. I'm kind of leading towards Hollywood Brown, but not crazy about it. Hi, bro. Is Butt Fumble Sports apparel for sale? It will be soon, J-Lope. We are in the works. If you go to Indiana University, we actually have some apparel around them. We have a Bobby Knight shirt, a Christian Watford shirt, but Butt Fumble Sports will be putting out apparel. We're just getting our ducks in a row, all with Shopify and everything else. But you can look for Butt Fumble Sports content coming in Butt Fumble Sports apparel coming in 2023. You can find Butt Fumble Sports content right now. We're putting out waiver wire watch videos, fantasy start flex and sit videos, gambling videos, game pick videos, and I put out a rant for almost every major sports news around the globe. Anything that's important, I'll put a rant out about it. You can check out my rant so you can tell me how wrong I am. Thoughts on Jalen Waddle? I love Jalen Waddle, and when he gets the balls in his hand, when he gets the ball in his hands, he's dynamic and electric. My only concern: the pressure Tua is going to face. The offensive line is injured for the Miami Dolphins. Not as much time for Tua to find Waddle. I do think that hurts Waddle's production a little bit. ETN, Rachaad White, or Hollywood Brown, full PPR. I'm going to lead towards ETN. Just make sure he's healthy. Can I drop Gus and Kenya and Drake? Of course you can, especially now that the Ravens offense doesn't have Lamar. James Conner, Travis Etienne, Kenneth Walker this week, must-win week. I'm not crazy about Kenneth Walker. He's kind of hit the rookie wall, and he's going up against a good run defense. James Conner is going up against one of the best run defenses in the league. But so is Travis Etienne and the Tennessee Titans. Really don't like any of them, to be honest. If I had to go with one, I'm going to lean towards Etienne because he's involved in the run and the pass game. You just got to make sure he's healthy. That's my only concern there. But all three of them have really a tough matchup. I really hope you win this week and can advance in your playoffs. Appreciate all of you joining us. Make sure you give us a like. Appreciate all the support. Stuck in a bad spot, who would you start? Gainwell, Ty Johnson, Chuba Hubbard. Well, you just named two of the guys I'm recommending off the waiver wire this week in Gainwell and Chuba Hubbard. That said, I would lean towards Chuba Hubbard because the Seahawks defense is one of the worst against the run in the NFL. I think Hubbard is the best out of that group. Knight or Connor, I'm not crazy about either one. I'm going to lean towards Connor just slightly. Foreman or Marquise Brown, I'm going to go with Deontay Foreman. USMC. Should I trade Christian Watson for Hollywood Brown and Treylon Burks? No, I don't think so. Is P. Ryan a start this week only in a flex capacity, unless Joe Mixon's hurt? My thoughts on the college football playoff, I thought they got it absolutely right. Ohio State should be the 3, TCU should be the 3, Ohio State should be the 4. Georgia, Ohio State is a championship caliber matchup. Really excited to see it. I think Georgia wins it. As for Michigan, TCU, I think it's going to be a fight. I think TCU will be competitive up until the fourth quarter, maybe midway through. But ultimately, I think Michigan wins. I think the national championship is Georgia against Michigan. And unfortunately for Michigan fans, Blease, I'm shouting you out. I think Georgia will win the national championship for a second year in a row. If you have a different take, if you want to talk sports, college sports, pro sports, hit us up at ButtFumbleSports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, and at SportsFumble on Twitter. We love to hear from the sports fan. Rashad White or Knight in the flex, I'd probably lean towards Rashad White. Do you like Williams or Connor? Overall, I like Williams. Foreman, Gainwell, or Dobbins? I believe Dobbins is still on the IR, so I don't know if he's back yet. I like Foreman a lot this week. Latavius Murray or Juju? I'm going to lean towards Latavius Murray. Foreman, Marquise Brown, half point. I'm going Foreman. If I've answered your question, please give us a like. Need a tight end. Is Dulcich a good pickup? I don't really like him this week. That's not where I would look. The tight ends on the waiver wire I would consider Noah Fant, though he has a tough matchup against the Carolina Panthers. Austin Hooper going up against the Jacksonville Jaguars. And Hunter Henry. Henry is playing the Arizona Cardinals. The Cardinals are the worst defense against tight ends in fantasy this year. Knight or Connor, already secured the number 2 seed. I go James Conner. Appreciate all of the support. Please give us a like. Please give us a follow. Please give us a gift. At ButtFumbleSports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, and at SportsFumble on Twitter. If you've missed any of our content tonight, go check out our YouTube page. At ButtFumbleSports, you can check out all of my picks for NFL Week 14 in a video we just shot from 7 to 8:30. Some great analysis, fantasy, daily fantasy, and of course gambling trends and game picks in that. And if you've missed any of this session on TikTok Live, you can check this video out as well on YouTube at our YouTube channel at ButtFumbleSports. And you can hear all of my picks answering all of these questions. You can go back through in case you missed some of them. I might have missed your question or you didn't hear it. Go back through. You can hear all of my analysis and my picks for NFL Week 14, who to start, who to sit, who the waiver wire watch play should be. And of course, check out our content every day. ButtFumbleSports, we put out a lot of content for you, the fan. I own Kirk Cousins as a QB. Should use my number 1 on a wide. Kirk Cousins, keep him in your lineup. He's playing well. Drop Singletary or Foreman for Fournette. Don't drop either one. You don't want to play Fournette. Start Foreman. Foreman's the better play this week. You need a quarterback this week. Is Tannehill a good pickup? Absolutely. He is one of our waiver wire watch pickups this week at the quarterback position. Good luck to you, Blease. I hope Michigan doesn't disappoint you. Is Georgia the new Alabama? No, not quite. I'm not going to go there just yet. I think Georgia may be the new Clemson, which is a way of saying they are the contender that's going to rival Alabama in the next few years, but I don't think Alabama is quite done being the Bama of college football. Jamal Williams or James Conner? Jamal Williams. Foreman, Gainwell or Dobbins? Foreman. Appreciate all the support. Please give us a follow at Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. What do I think of James Cook? I think he's starting to challenge Devin Singletary for that RB1 spot on the Buffalo Bills. Really like what I've seen from him so far coming out of Florida State. He's got some great speed and knows how to break a tackle or two. Cook, Metcalf at the flex. For this one, I would lean slightly towards Dalvin Cook. If it's James Cook, no. If it's Dalvin Cook, the brother, I'd lean towards him, though I think Metcalf could still have a good day. Deshaun Watson or Tom Brady? Unfortunately, Deshaun Watson. Appreciate all the support, appreciate the likes, appreciate the follows, and the gifts at Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, and at Sports Fumble on Twitter. Watson, Brady, or Goff? I'd go with Goff. Derek Carr or Mike White? I'm going Derek Carr. If you've got fantasy football questions or questions for NFL Week 14, put them in the chat, put them in the comment section, and once I answer them, definitely give us a like. Bam Knight or Fournette? That's a tough one for me. I might lean towards Bam Knight, actually. Is the Patriots defense a good play this week? I think so. Going up against that Arizona Cardinals offense, rather. Pierce, Judy, or Rachaad White? Pick two. I'll go Jerry, Judy, and Rachaad White. Appreciate all the support, the likes, the follows, the gifts, the tips. If you want to check out our picks this week, definitely watch our videos throughout the week at Sports Fumble on Twitter, at Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. You can also check out our YouTube page. We did a video earlier tonight. You can check out all of our picks in that video and see who I'm betting for NFL Week 14. Dak or Cousins? I'm going Kirk Cousins. Cousins or Huntley? I'm going Kirk Cousins. Will Burrow finally beat the Browns? Yes, I think Burrow will beat the Browns. I have Browns covering, but I've got Burrow on the money line. Curtis Samuel or Deontay Johnson? Deontay Johnson. What's your thought on starting 4 players from one team with bye weeks may have to start 4 Eagles? Really don't like that. I think that's going to be a competitive, lower scoring game between the Giants and Eagles. There's also rain expected for that game, kind of sloppy conditions. So if you've got Jalen Hurts, I like it. If you've got Miles Sanders, if you've got running game, I like it. Not crazy about the passing game in that one. Appreciate all the support. I think we're going to jump off now. If I missed any of your questions, definitely join us later this week. Happy to answer all and any of them. Or reach out to us on our channels at Sports Fumble on Twitter, at Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. So appreciate the support. Fumble Sports, we're a new sports content network. Check out all of our content, trying to make you, the fan, smarter, better, help you win your bets, win your fantasy week. So please engage with us. We love engaging with this audience. Appreciate all of the support. Please give us a follow at Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. And as always, good luck this week with your bets. We'll be talking to you soon.